All right, to get the legal take on all of this, joining me now, Greta Van Susteren, on the record anchor and Fox News host. I'm so glad that you are here to join us today. I watched the whole entire thing from start to finish. I was amazed because Comey really illuminated the idea that he does not believe in the gross negligence part of the law. I mean, he basically said they set that aside. They've only pursued it once in the past 100 years, and that his standard is really, do people know they're breaking the law when they're doing it? Was that your take, and what's your reaction?
Well, you know, I thought he did some weird hair splitting, because he said the standard's gross negligence, but he thought this was extremely careless, and I really don't know much the difference. I mean, look, I thought that was bizarre. I thought what was interesting and what I really appreciate from him is how transparent he was. You know, he laid it out so that, and he did it in a very dispassionate way, and people can disagree with him, and a lot of people are disagreeing with him about whether or not the standard was met or what the elements are. But nonetheless, at least he stepped up and he told the American people this is what he thought, this is how he considered it. Look, there are going to be a lot of people that disagree with him on this, but that's one of the, there's sort of a fuzzy gray area called prosecutorial discretion, although he's the investigator, he's not the prosecutor on this case. He elected not to recommend a prosecution. He's a former prosecutor himself, but a lot of people could certainly have reason to disagree, because there certainly was many instances where there was a sort of reckless or gross negligence in connection with these emails.
And they sort of they went through and said, did she sign that famous form where you go through the training and they explain to you exactly what you're not allowed to do? Yes, she signed that form. Should anybody who was working on these things have known that they couldn't have done that? Yes, but he concluded with, one thing I learned is that the secretary might not be as sophisticated as people think she is.
Well, certainly when it comes to technology and emails. But here's the thing that's also a little bit disturbing to me is what about her aides? What about her chief of staff? What about other people who work around us? Like, they're all sort of sycophants, and they don't tell her, look, you can't do this, and she just sort of does it with abandon. And there were instances, Melissa, when they had noticed that there was something awry, people would get emails from her, not from a government email address. So lots of people knew, and they just looked the other way, and in that way sort of enabled her. Now, that does not excuse her one lick. That doesn't excuse her one lick. But what in the world are we hiring in government? Everybody looks the other way when it's certain people that do things?
Yeah, no, that was really interesting. Also, he got a direct question about if the Clinton Foundation is being investigated, and he wouldn't answer one way or the other. What did you think about that?
I didn't expect him to answer that, because prosecutors and investigators like the FBI and the police, they don't tell you who they're investigating. So that actually didn't surprise me. But I thought it was an interesting question to pose to him, because look, probably that's fair game to look at, because all investigations seem to have tentacles. You go one direction and you find someone to investigate, and you'll find 3 other people investigate as well. So I wasn't surprised by that. Look, the interesting thing is there will be a criminal referral from Capitol Hill for whether or not Secretary Clinton lied under oath. And so that's sort of the next step. But if you think about it, Melissa, she's getting punished so much right now, because you never get to get all this information out of the prosecutor, where they actually go through the emails and they tell you what was classified and what wasn't. I mean, she does not look better at the end of the day in terms of, of her being president of the United States after the beating today of what came out.
Yeah, wouldn't they have just said, no, we're not looking at the foundation, or not at this time? You don't think they would have said not at this time?
Maybe.
Okay.
But I mean, like, he might have slipped and made that mistake. In all likelihood, he said, no, we're not looking at it. But he's a smart guy. Look, this guy's been around the block with investigations. He's been a former prosecutor. In fact, he was a prosecutor under Mayor Giuliani when he was U.S. attorney. So, look, he was a straightforward. You can disagree with him, and there's a lot of room to disagree with him. But he walks out of there with his head held high, that at least he's kept his integrity intact, even if he is, in many people's minds, wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Greta, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. We will watch you tonight at 7 without question.
Thank you.